There's a thought that visits you in the quiet moments, not during the chaos, not during the fights. It comes after, when everything has settled, and you're lying in the dark, and your mind goes somewhere you try to avoid. And the thought is this: you knew. Somewhere deep inside, before any of this became what it became, you knew something was wrong. You felt it, and you stayed anyway. That is the part that haunts you most. Not what they did, but why you kept choosing someone who kept showing you, in ways big and small, that they were not safe for your heart. And the answer to that question is more important than anything else you will try to figure out this year. So stay with this, all the way through. Think about the relationship that hurt you the most. Not the dramatic one, the one that damaged something quiet inside you. The one where you gave more than you had and received just enough to keep you from leaving. The one where you found yourself shrinking, waiting, adjusting, performing some version of yourself that you thought might finally be enough to make them stay, to make them warm, to make them fully choose you. You were not stupid in that relationship. You saw the signs. Your friends saw them too. But something louder than logic kept saying, "Not yet. Try one more time. Give it one more chance." And so you did. Again and again. Until you were emptied out. Where did that voice come from? That is the real question. It begins much earlier than you think. Think about what love looked like when you were young. Not the idea of love. The actual lived experience of it, in your home, in the emotional environment you grew up inside. Because that environment did not just shape your memories. It shaped your nervous system. It shaped what feels normal to you. It shaped what your body recognizes as connection. Maybe love in your home came with conditions. It arrived when you performed well, when you were impressive or undemanding. And when you needed too much, there was a withdrawal, a silence, a pulling away that taught you, without anyone saying it out loud, that love had to be earned, never simply received. Maybe the people around you were loving, but inconsistent, warm sometimes, and distant other times. So you became very good at reading the room, adjusting yourself, doing whatever was needed to keep the warmth coming and avoid the cold. You did not choose those lessons. They were handed to you before you were old enough to question them, and they became your template, the invisible blueprint your heart has been following in every relationship since. Here is what that template does to you, and this is the part most people never fully understand. It does not just make you attract certain kinds of people, it makes you feel most alive around them. When someone is inconsistent with you, when they are warm and then cold, when their love comes in doses rather than in steady flow, something in your body recognizes that rhythm. It is the rhythm you grew up inside. And familiar, even when it hurts, always feels safer than unfamiliar. The anxiety you feel when they pull away gets mistaken for passion. The relief you feel when they come back gets mistaken for proof that what you have is real. The intensity of the whole cycle gets confused with love, and so you hold on, you fight for it. You pour yourself into someone who makes you work for every drop of warmth, and you call it devotion. But it is not devotion. It is a pattern, an old, exhausting, deeply familiar pattern that your heart learned before you had the language to question it. Pause here for a moment. Think about what you have called chemistry in your life. The relationships that felt electric, that consumed your thoughts, that made you feel most alive. Were those feelings coming from genuine safety and connection? Or were they coming from uncertainty, from not quite knowing where you stood? From the specific hunger of reaching for someone who was never fully available? There is a difference between passion and anxiety. There is a difference between excitement and desperate hope. And if you have spent your life confusing one for the other, you are not alone. But knowing the difference is everything. The reason you stay is not weakness. Underneath all the confusion and the hurt, there is a question you are still trying to answer. A question that formed inside you when you were young and never got resolved. And in its most honest form, it sounds like this: am I enough? If I love someone patiently enough, hard enough, will they finally choose me fully? And if someone who has always been just out of reach finally turns around and picks me, does that mean the answer is yes? This is what is really happening when you stay with someone who keeps hurting you. You are not just trying to save the relationship. You are trying to answer that question. Every time they give you warmth after a long, cold stretch, something in you exhales. Not just because they came back, but because their coming back feels like proof, like evidence that you are worth returning to. But here is the thing that breaks your heart and sets you free at the same time. They cannot answer that question. They never could. No person, no relationship, no amount of being chosen by someone external can reach back through time and heal the place inside you that first started asking. That place has been waiting, not for the right person to love you, but for you to look at it directly and say, I see you. You were never the problem. You were always enough. And here is why, even when you understand all of this, you still find yourself back in the same place with a different face. Understanding a wound is not the same as healing it. You can know exactly why you do something and still feel powerless to stop it. Because the pattern is not living in your thoughts. It is living in your body, in your nervous system, in the automatic responses that fire before your rational mind has any say. This is why just deciding to choose better does not work. Because the moment someone triggers that old familiar feeling, that mix of excitement and anxiety and hope and uncertainty, your body responds before your mind can catch up, and your body is following a much older map. So the work is not just thinking differently. It is slowly teaching your nervous system that peace is not the absence of love, that consistency is not boring, that someone being reliably kind does not mean something is missing. Here is what real love feels like for someone who has spent a long time in the cycle, and this might surprise you. It feels quiet, almost suspiciously quiet. It does not arrive with the electricity you are used to. It does not give you that desperate, reaching, please do not pull away feeling you have been calling chemistry. Instead, it feels steadier. It just stays. And your nervous system, trained on waves, will tell you that this is flat, that this cannot be love, because love in your experience has always felt like drowning and then finally breaking the surface. But that is not love. That is a trauma response in a costume, and the quiet, consistently kind thing that you keep calling boring might be the most loving thing you have ever been offered. Proof. You did not choose people who hurt you because you love pain. You chose them because you were looking for something real. Proof of your own worth. The answer to a question that has followed you since before you even knew it was a question. And the tragedy is not that you kept looking. The tragedy is that you kept looking in places that could never give you what you were actually searching for. Because what you were looking for was never about them. It was always about you. So here is where you actually begin. Not with a resolution to choose better people, though that matters. You begin with something smaller and more honest. Compassion for yourself. For the person who has been carrying this quietly, trying so hard, asking such a deep question in the only ways they knew how. Your capacity to love through difficulty is not a flaw. It is one of the most powerful things about you. It just needs to be redirected toward people who can actually receive it. And more than anything, toward yourself. When you stop treating yourself the way the unavailable people in your life treated you, when you stop making your own worth conditional, when you stop withholding kindness from yourself, the external patterns begin to shift, slowly, but genuinely. You stop being pulled toward chaos because you are no longer searching for resolution outside yourself, and from that place, you start to recognize people who are actually safe, not because they are perfect, but because they are present. You are not destined to keep hurting. That is not your story. That is just the chapter you have been stuck in. The people who hurt you showed you exactly where your wounds are, and now that you can see them clearly, you have something you did not have before. A choice. The choice to stop outsourcing your healing to people who were never equipped to give it. The choice to turn toward yourself with the same patience you have been pouring outward for years. The choice to let steady, quiet, consistent love in, even when every old part of you says it does not feel like enough. It is enough. And so are you. You always were.